we don't really want to play it either, so they're going to ban that away. But it does open up a first pick Gwen, who, despite all the nerfs, has just kind of strung themselves back into the meta and is still an exceptionally powerful pick on that top side.
Yeah, she did get a little bit of a buff back to her E, the attack speed going from 50% to 60%, so that's why you started to see a little bit more presence from the Gwen, but incredibly strong pick. We're going to see the Kalista actually taken away by Betty, so you're going to be looking at aggressive bot lane here for anyone's legend, and we'll have to see them watch out how would like to try and go for. Probably going to be the Viego. The Lee Sin is there as well, but it's going to be the Viego locked in already.
Sorry, just to give everyone a thing, we haven't had in-game music or in-game sounds for a while. We're just testing out a new system here today, and we're going to talk about those picks in a second. This music is funky as hell. I'm just jamming out to it right now, but coming back in, we'll see now that the bot lane is going to be that Aphelios Nautilus. They're blocking in a very standard, safe setup for themselves, and also denying that Nautilus away from the Kalista, but they're going to see the Renata and the Kalista picked into it, and this is another one of those duos in the bot side that has proven how potent it can be.
Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised to see the Aphelios coming through. Aphelios definitely has fallen off in priority since the nerf stim just coming into the MSI patch. And especially when you're going up against the Kalista and the Renata. Like, yes, you will have the late game scaling, but this is a lane where Kalista and Renata can definitely bully you out. So I'm kind of surprised to see them go so heavily into this. But if you can have Tarzan come down here, at least you got good lockup with the Nautilus, decent point and click. But I want to see exactly how much pressure they can put down here, because Tarzan, I assumed, was going to get focused in the ban phase here, but actually looking to take away picks from Doomby.
I mean, Doomby, it can work, but it also can't work. The man has so many dark technologies available to him that you're just really hard to just focus in and ban away certain things. And we will see now from the side of LNG, they're going to ban away some of those traditional counters to the Gwen. Wouldn't mind even seeing them take away something like the Kayle or maybe even the Gangplank, just to kind of get rid of those certain very safe top lane picks. But Corki banned away as well. So again, like you mentioned, the kind of, you know, big DPS carries that Doomby saw in the previous series being taken away now by anyone's legend.
Yeah, I think this is a game, though, when you've got Gwen in top and you've got Aphelios in the bot lane as well. You don't really need Doomby on these big, like, AP carry threats like you did in the last game. So I'm actually curious to see if this is maybe a game where we actually do see LNG go back to that old school style that we saw from Spring, where you take something like the Twisted Fate in the mid lane. You've got an opportunity to play 1-3-1. You've got decent team fighting, but just the ability to try and, like, shut down this aggressive bot lane from anyone's legend, make them a bit more honest, would actually be great, especially if if Forge is going to go towards the Swain here. You can get decent pushers, the TF against the Swain, and look to try and make those plays happen.
Well, the Swain going to be locked and loaded here. Again, like you said, very powerful. You do tend to see the Imperial Mandate build as well. Oh, wow. Very, very potent at keeping itself alive. But the Sejuani locked in for Tarzan here. So a lot of engage coming out here from the side of LNG. Good front-to-back team fight. They just need to round it out with something good in the mid lane.
Yeah, and I mean, it could work out pretty well.
Yes,
it's
go!
The Doomby clan. Let's do it. I love seeing this man on this pick, and it's going to be interesting to see, because I think the biggest thing that you're looking at on anyone's legend is, hey, look, this is a very short-range composition, right? Between the Swain, the Kalista, everything else, like, you're going to be able to get in on top of these quite easily. So having two melee solo lanes to work with the Sejuani, setting up to try and stun multiple people in fights, this is going to be a very potent skirmish and team fight from LNG, just based on what they picked up thus far.
And then finally, to round it all out, the Gangplank that we talked about going into the Gwen, going to be there for ZDZ. And right now, both teams, they have win conditions. They have very solid ways. But for LNG, it's go, go, go. Keep that Aphelios alive and just get on top of these carries.
Yeah, and it's all about trying to enable that Aphelios. I think you'll see a lot of presence here from Tarzan into the mid lane in the early stages, so then he can kind of unlock Doomby. And then we just talked about it, right? Like, we wanted things that could kind of roam down to this bottom side, shut down the pressure from Betty and Chocho in the early stages. Well, that's something that Eclec can do very well with that charge. So I'm expecting a lot of presence down in this bot side of the map, because if not, anyone's legend definitely have the ability to go for these very aggressive plays early in this bottom side of the map and set up themselves to try and play towards that mid-game team fight that we were talking about at the run of show.
We'll have to wait and see, but again, I love the fact that we're seeing the Kled back for Doomby. Again, one of those things that he's always been known for. He brought it, obviously, was pivotal in the 2019 World Championship run, and for FBX, Very fond memories of that. Now he's bringing it out for LNG, and for now we can see now what we can do. I want to see exactly how Tarzan can work with this Sejuani. Very good at setting up, very good at just kind of controlling areas, especially with that ultimate. So very curious to see how they work. And for anyone's legend, it kind of feels like they have to get that bot lane going. I will say though, if they can land the hostile takeover when they're looking for a dive, they're looking for an engage on the side of LNG to the to the pixel perfect, that could be devastating for them. So for anyone's legend, this is a kind of a good execution kind of comp if they want to go for it.
Yeah, and I think definitely in the early stages you can. One of the things that you've kind of seen with this Renata and Kalista combo, we saw from FPX with LWX and Hung, they ended up like going for literally a level 2 dive. Just the two players, level 2, diving onto the bot lane against the Lamy Lucian. These are definitely plays that you can make early stage with how potent this combo is. So just keep your eyes out to see if we actually get some of that funny business from Betty and Chocho. But as we load into the game, I'm excited to see if anyone's legend can make this aggressive early game comp work, or if they're just going to fall to the scaling of LNG.
We'll have to wait and see. We are jumping onto the riff for game 1 of this best of 3. LNG versus anyone's legend. Both teams currently sitting on 1-0. A 2-0 start is a fantastic way to begin your LPL campaign. And remember, we're into summer split. We're talking about getting to Worlds at the end of it, and every single match matters. You only get one shot against every single team. And now we get to see where everyone kind of goes. So looking at these two junglers, looking at these two teams, where do you want to see them prioritize? Where do you want to see them work around their win conditions up until maybe 6 or even beyond?
So I think when we look towards LNG, it's like, look, Tarzan needs to try and... Actually, I'm going to start on anyone's legend because I think it's going to make a little bit more sense. Just looking at, like, the big thing that you're going to see is Forge having push in mid. You're going to push and bot for Betty and Chocho as well. So I think for Xiaohao, the fact you're up against Tarzan on this Sejuani, you have the ability to go for invades. Your skirmish is actually really good with this Viego against the Sejuani in the early stages. So I wouldn't be surprised to see them try and use the push that you'll get on these like bot side of the map to look for aggressive invades and trying to like disrupt Tarzan's jungle path, so you can try and lean into that bot side and have a split map where Betty and Chocho can do their thing. For Tarzan, you want to try and stop that from happening. So the best way to do it is to try and set up Doomby for some early kills in mid, like blow some of these early summoner spells on Forge. And then from that point, it's so much more difficult for Xiaohao to try and play down towards the bottom side, because you've always got the threat of Doomby and Tarzan showing up on that bottom lane.
Let's wait and see. Forge already getting some early vision down, see if he can spot the path, but a little bit bamboozled because they do not know exactly where the Sejuani is. It's going to be on the top side of the jungle here for Tarzan, and we will wait to see exactly where everyone ends up kind of going. For Betty, again, let's see just how much pressure they know that this Sejuani can do, especially early on. They want to make sure that they have a rough idea where she is, and that the Tarzan's not getting any free movements around the map.
Already, though, we talked about this play mid.
Yeah, we did. They don't have exact idea of where he is, and now Tarzan will be coming in. You've got the double melee coming in. Now they're going to try and stun him down, and that's first blood going over to Tarzan. Nicely secured there.
And that's why this combo is so strong, especially when you start to add Gwen into the mix as well. Having 3 melee champions in your solo laners and your jungle that you can start to work through to get those stuns for the Sejuani is so difficult to deal with. And you can see there, Forge had the flash, didn't even burn it, and falls down to Tarzan and Doomby.
Doomby's back does end up getting delayed ever so slightly as we have a look at the replay here. And again, like you said, it's all in on this. You have the double melee. It just works out.
And now this is where you can start to really continue to punish this as well, right? I know that there's still the flash there, but I mean, you've already got the lockdown from Doomby, who can always flash preemptively to try and pull Forge back in. But Xiaohao now on this bottom side, trying to see if he can answer in anyone's Legends corner of this bot lane, but not exactly sure where Sejuani is. Doomby also dipping out of Fog of War. He needs to be so careful here.
They know exactly where Xiaohao is, and now Tarzan and Doomby trying to make a way down towards his bot side. Xiaohao recognizing does not need to be there, and he is going to get himself the hell out of dodge. I like the idea, but again, we talked about it earlier in the start of the show, is that this is so hard to do now. You can't really get those early game dives unless you know you're going to be able to 100-0 someone very quickly.
Yeah, I think the big caveat to that, though, is the Renata, right? Like, in rule of thumb, dives are more difficult, but Renata makes it so much easier because of the W, but anyone's legend. Still trying to be a pain on this bottom side. And this is what we were talking about, right? The invades you can go for, and they got him!
They got him. They get the never move. They get the handshake. Thank you very much. That is the worst deal of LNG's jungler's life, and that is going to be a 1-1 now for anyone's legend. Good capitalization again. Good combo here from the side of Xiaohao and Chocho.
Yeah, and this is exactly what I wanted to see. Anyone's Legend actually working together as a team, going to punish this Sejuani, and they do it perfectly there. Now Betty might find Iwandi.
I mean, Iwandi's got to be so careful here. He will get rendered and slowed down here. We'll have a little bit of a hook to Spider-Man his way out of danger, but again, the Callista, you can't really leave those long skirmishes. It's one of the few things we talk about because it is just a very potent ability to have, as we can see now on the bot side. It's actually why he was having Betty losing his heal, was because he got a little bit greedy on his own and got spotted out by the Aphelios.
Yeah, so nice job by Light to burn that summoner spell, but still with Betty now picking up the boots, should be in a pretty good spot to actually start continuing this pressure in the bot lane. Even though you've got a slight CS lead for Light, it's been more about the fact that pressure has led to a kill onto Tarzan, getting vision control on the bottom side here for Anyone's Legend as well. And I'm pretty sure we're just going to see this kind of trend continue, even as you look at where Chocho's moving, starting to get in towards the mid lane, going to try and link up with Xiaohao. And as these camps start to respawn on the bottom side, we're going to get Anyone's Legend just being such a pesky nuisance for Tarzan.
Well, level 6 is going to be hit there for both solo laners in top and in mid. So you do have access to the cannon barrage now, as we have Chocho thinking about going for something in this mid lane. But Forge just covering Forge for the moment to make sure he can get that wave crashed in and reset. Dragon is available for either side. We can see now Betty just trying to hold this wave in bot lane, while on the top side, Ala just kind of recognizing that he has the ignite, he has his ultimate available, so in a straight 1v1, he might have the option available to him, but with Dragon up and available, and Ultimate's almost there for both of these junglers, this could end up being a pretty big skirmish, but Tarzan secures the scuttle, gets himself out.
Yeah, you can see, though, Anyone's Legend really trying to put the pressure on towards LNG. Nice job, though, for LNG to at least get the scuttle and give themselves some vision in the river, because if that goes fully dark for them, it's going to be so much easier for Anyone's Legend to continue to control the space that they need around this bottom half of the map. Because you can see, right, for the Gangplank, yeah, he's fallen a little bit behind in CS, but he's got first strike, he's a Gangplank, he's going to be farming up happy as Larry, as Anyone's Legend, again, just get this invade off and go onto the red. They're being such a pain for pain for Tarzan.
Yeah, it's a great thing for Xiaohao, as he's just kind of constantly putting this pressure down. And this is, full all in the top side as we get the needle work and the ignite going down. ZDZ is ticking, but he will not fall just yet. Cannon Barrage is good to clear out this wave, and there is a little extra barrel as well. So ZDZ keeps his flash, but for how much longer? As Doonby's coming in, and he will charge up into the top side. He's looking for the Gangplank, and he will not be able to find him. Yes, he will. He flashes forward and picks up the kill. Doonby very much behind enemy lines, but should be able to get out alive.
And this is what we're talking about for Doomby. This is what we wanted to see. The man moving around again, getting active on the map, stopping LNG from slipping behind in the early stages, and getting these kills for himself. That's now 2 kills that he's been involved in, and I expect that we're going to see a lot more come in his direction as well.
I mean, it's the power of the Kled. You push in the mid lane, you've got that Iron Spike Whip to be able to increase your wave clear, and then, like you said, you just move around the map. You put yourself into positions to affect the other lanes.
Yeah, and I mean, look, this now gives themselves a little bit of wiggle room as well to just start going, okay, well, maybe we can start to set up some vision, especially around things like the Rift Herald that has just spawned, see if we can get people in position for that. Although, as I say, Anyone's Legend, at least first back out onto the map, may look for something in the mid lane, or at least try to clear out some of this vision that LNG have established.
Yeah, well, Xiaohao going to recognize now that he was seen atop this pink ward. Cleared that one out. Tarzan is in the vicinity, as they maybe look to try and take down this Rift Herald. And you still have some decent ultimates available to Anyone's Legend, but you don't have the Cannon Barrage just yet. And bot lane having its own little move here as the hook does land. We will have the level 6 hit by Iwandi. He goes straight in to try and lock down Betty. They're now going to turn their focus on to Renata, but Chocho gets himself out with the Fate's Call, and they burn a couple of different summoners, but at the end of it all, it's still Anyone's Legend feeling okay in this bot side.
It does mean Anyone's Legend have to ditch on the Rift Herald, though. You've got reinforcements coming for LNG, so LNG should be able to secure this Rift Herald off that bot lane play, and Light and Wandi have a move. And even though we talked about, Betty and Chocho having a good amount of pressure down in this bot side of the map, at least in the early stages, Light and Wandi have been doing a really good job of actually getting a CS lead and pushing back Betty and Chocho.
Yeah, they really, really have. 10 CS lead, like you mentioned, the all-in there. They recognize they had the level 6. Chocho did not have the hostile takeover. And that is going to be the Rift Herald, like you mentioned, going over to the side of LNG. So, You got yourself the Rift Herald, and now it's all about where you want to use it. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised to see them maybe just get Doonby out onto the top side or bot side and maybe use it there to try and crack open one of these lanes.
Yeah, I mean, you can already see Ala up here, Tarzan's here. Doonby doesn't quite have control of mid, but Chocho and Forge are on the way, and that feels like it's going to be the call-off then for LNG in the top lane.
Good call there, as we now see Xiaohao recognizing, you know what, I'm going to get something on this trade, picks himself up the Mountain Drake, so anyone's legend not to be outdone by this, and we've had a little bit of early action. Again, a lot of posturing here, 2 kills to 1, only about 1,000 gold here to LNG. It's a Rift Herald trade for that dragon that we just saw. For anyone's legend, it's all going to come down to those big first key items. You can see there actually that Ford's not going straight towards the Bandleglass Mirror, looking to actually pick up the Rylai's Crystal Scepter before anything else.
I'm just watching to see how much pressure Light can get down here in the bot side, because I'm looking at Tarzan. You've already got decent ward coverage set up as well here by Iwandi, but it looks like they don't want to try and make anything happen too early. Like, it feels like at least the moment with the vision control they're setting up and how they're all posturing down at the bottom lane, LNG want to try and go for some sort of play in the bot lane with Doonby, who does have his TP just up momentarily and has that charge.
Wait to see exactly how it ends up all going. Again, like I said, Betty and Chocho being pushed back here by Light and Iwandi, just having to respect the all-in potential from this Nautilus and Aphelios combination. Even then, you could also argue that, you know, with the combination of something like a Sejuani would definitely spell a doom for them, but spending their time just chasing around the rift, trying to get rid of as much vision as absolutely possible. And this feels like LNG are comfortable. It feels like LNG are the ones dictating the pace to anyone's legend, and anyone's legend are the ones who have to try and maybe break that mold as we come into kind of, you know, up to about the 15-minute mark.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think you've got an opportunity here for LNG to even like put that foot down even further, especially when you've got the Rift Herald and 4 members of LNG in this top lane.
There's 4 members here. There's the charge coming down as they're going to try and maybe get themselves on top of this Gangplank, who has got the cannon barrage. He will get taken out just about. It's a good dive from the side of LNG. They tank it up beautifully. A couple of low health bars, but they will be happy with the result they just got.
Yeah, and you can even see, right, Aphelios has moved into the mid lane, so he's actually getting to work on that mid lane tower. It will be answered by Betty in this bot lane with a certain amount of plates, but just means that you're not actually losing out on a huge amount here for LNG for going for this play.
Yep, you gain a kill, you lose very little, and even with a TP there from the side of Ala. No, I see Doonby is going into the bot side, excuse me. That's going to be able to cover off that one. So Light's able to get pretty much all of these plates uncontested, and even with the Rift Herald coming down there as well. It's just Chocho. How is he going to defend from this? The answer, spoiler, is he's not.
Oh, no, does it fall? There we go.
There we go. I thought it was going to land on like 2 HP.
What are you talking about? That was calculated to the last minion dying.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Every good play like that is not lucky, it's calculated. That's how it is. The more you practice, the luckier you get. But well, we'll see now. Iwandi getting caught out here. The never move is available if they can land it, but the Heartbreaker is going to be right on top of him, and Iwandi recognizes when he's a dead man. No one there to help him out, and that's going to be a kill going over to anyone's legend. Yeah,
I was a little unlucky for Iwandi being in that position at that point in time. Yeah, definitely got caught out with his pads down, but it does mean still, look, LNG, they get mid turret. Now you can actually stick, well, I was going to say put the Aphelios into the mid lane, and then kind of have the ability to try and play off with your support like Iwandi leaning onto either up towards top side or down towards the bot lane to try and look for further towers. But it actually looks like with Doonby going into the mid lane, they're just going to try and kind of go for that game plan that we talked about with Light, where we just feed him every resource that exists on this map. So have Doonby push mid and then lean into the bottom side. But as you can see here, Iwandi just walking into no man's land, didn't have the support, didn't have the vision down, and anyone's legend are waiting for him in the river.
I like how everyone else is just like, all right, you're dead. We're gonna continue with our resets. There's no real reason for us to be sitting here. But despite that kill, despite everything else, of course, with that mid lane turret going down, it is about 2,500 gold lead coming up here now for LNG. LNG, again, like we said, dictating the pace. They're now coming up the first items. Riftmaker finished up here for the Gwen, so a massive power spike for Ala on the top side. Tarzan with that Frostfire Gauntlet. Of course, you now have the Stride Breaker for Doonby, so a little bit of extra survivability and CC, and the Gale Force there for Light. A lot of very key items being picked up here, and anyone's legend, they're kind of lagging behind the power curve.
Yeah, they are definitely struggling here. I think LNG just kind of showing like what we're talking about with this early game. The ability to try and like play through sides, setting up interactions between the lanes and like getting deep vision down or even vision down just as a coordinated team. And that's something that we talked about missing from anyone's Legend game plan, right? We're not seeing Forge try and match these roams until it's a little bit too late. They haven't been able to set up as successfully as we're hoping for around Betty and Chocho, and it means that they're slowly but surely falling behind.
Slowly but surely, again, this is comfortable from LNG, and this is what we wanted to see. Like we mentioned at the top of the show, we wanted to see LNG just take this in their stride, look to show their dominance over a team that, again, was 13th in the regular split in spring. So this is exactly what we expected to see, but with anyone's Legend, if they can get themselves up to one item, if they can find that big team fight where they're able to kind of, initially take that first and then kind of back away and reset, that's their opportunity. But like you mentioned earlier on, with the vision control coming out from LNG, it's very difficult for anyone's Legend to get a foothold anywhere.
Yeah, and this is where it only becomes more and more difficult, right? Because even with the melee support here, Tarzan does end up with another way to start proccing his passive. You've even got the big engage through from Iwandi, so anyone realistically who gets caught is just dead. Like, you don't get to move for the foreseeable future, especially if you start to add in, like, Doomby with a bear trap and a rope. Like, it becomes obnoxious, and that's when we're kind of seeing anyone's Legend, like, give that breadth of room to LNG because they are worried about that.
Iwandi takes a couple of tower shots. That's going to force a heal out as he tries to Spider-Man his way out. Should just be fine, but now we can see on the top side, they know where Xiaohao is. So they're going to try and dive completely onto ZDZ. It's going to be the cannon barrage to try and thin out this wave, but you got to feel like he is dead. That being said, though, there is enough of a Zhonya's to try and keep him alive for just the moment. They will swap the tower aggro, and right now, ZDZ, he comes out nearly the better of that trade.
Yeah, and this is what we're talking about, it's very difficult to try and dive turrets, but Tarzan is just going to look from the bush.
Oh, not quite able to catch him. There's going to be the proc of the Hex Drinker, but Tarzan says, you shall not escape today. Now that they know where there was 3 people topside, though, anyone's Legend can fully commit to that bot lane and will be able to trade back that turret in terms of the top lane trade.
Yeah, the thing is, though, you've got the opportunity here as LNG to fall back over towards the Rift Herald. So now they can actually start to pressure on towards these tier 2s. You've got bot lane tower that's nearly dead, so there's no reason to try and use the Rift Herald down there. I imagine they are just going to try and use it in towards this mid lane, see if they can push sides, quickly gather in the mid and take down this structure before anyone's Legend have a chance to mount a defense.
And again, slow and methodical, very much a LNG setup. They're getting the objectives. They've got themselves a dragon. They've picked up the most week 2 of the Rift Heralds this game as we have a look at the replay here. And again, ZDZ, I got to admit, did exceptionally well to keep himself for his life as long as he did.
Yeah, and I like that he didn't step back here, right? Because at least what we've learned from the last clip of Doomby going up here is that Doomby will try and always set it up behind the tower, so then he's able to follow you if you try and retreat further back. So ZDZ kind of hugging the front of his tower so he doesn't get caught out. And unfortunately, though, it is just a case of Tarzan showing up here as well. And it's ZDZ, despite playing weak side, thinking maybe he could survive, he does eventually get caught out.
Does get caught. Now you can see what anyone's Legends. 2.5 minutes to the next dragon, so there's no real reason here for LNG to go check into that brush unless they want to try and establish vision control, but Doomby's already here and he's going to jump straight onto the backside. We are going to see the ultimate pop there from the Swain as everyone tries to just engage on top of this. Good disengaging ult here from Chocho, but with the ultimate there from ZDZ, you got to feel like it was a little bit of overzealousness as they try to go into this one now. They got the bailout there for Xiaohao, but he will not be coming back to life, and now the rest of LNG just pile in onto anyone's Legend. They'd used all their ultimates, they'd used all their resources, and there was no way they could get out alive.
Yeah, they just hadn't followed up fast enough to try and make that play happen. Forge tried to get into the middle of everyone, but LNG disengaged nicely, wait for Forge's ult to go down, and suddenly that Swain is way less threatening from that position, and LNG look for the re-engage.
Look for the re-engage. We're already going to see there as well. Top bot lane turret going down. They had the Rift Herald in pockets. This could potentially crack open this turret as well. And you can see Doomby and Tarzan, that mid-jungle combination. They're so tanky. They're so scary. Just these two mounted beasts coming at you from all angles. You have to just walk away.
Yeah, and they're so incredibly strong as well. Strikebreaker picked up for Doomby means it's very difficult to escape. But you can see here, right? They jump onto Iwandi. This is where Forge actually needs to start playing forward into this, because the second you backed away, Forge is running out of the demon essence that he needs to keep that ultimate going. And the second Forge has none of that available, that's when LNG pounds, because they just know, look, this is where the bruiser front line for anyone's Legend with this Swain isn't really as strong as you'd expect, and now they can actually go for it.
Yeah, the Demonic Ascension, very powerful, especially with that Rylan's Crystal Scepter, if you can stay on top of people, if you have the team kind of working with you. And you can see already for Forge, hasn't been exceptional for him so far. Now Doonby getting a little bit caught out here by Xiaohao. Forge going to try and see if he can maybe land a never move, but again, it's a Kled. It's so difficult to lock him down. He's got so many ways of just getting away from you. Even at a last-ditch expert, he would have had the charge.
Yeah, and that's why it's kind of looking like LNG are just so confident to try and make these plays. Even at the top side, we're going for one more.
Yeah, they're very comfortable here. They wait for the flash to come out from Forge, and they land him with the Sejuani ultimate, drag him back, pick him up. Tarzan now 4, 1, and 2. And we had a question mark of whether or not Doonby would be able to kind of trade himself or move into this new mid lane meta. He doesn't really care about the new mid lane meta because he's got himself so much of the dark technologies.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? It's not the fact that he has to keep up with the meta, because I think meta is like so fluid at the moment in the mid lane, but it's just a case of like actually having champions where you can go and roam and look for picks in side lanes, and we're seeing Doonby play so exceptional in that style once more with this Kled pick. And now they move over towards the dragon, they're able to pick up that one. You're looking towards the mid lane as well, where you're able to go and see, hey look, now we can start to push in, get a little bit more pressure there. Like, it has just been so well orchestrated by LNG.
It really has. It's been cool, calm, collected, very calculated, and Anyone's Legend just haven't had an answer. LNG have just been picking them apart in every single opportunity. And yes, there's been small moments of almost turning it around, of almost getting themselves into a position to be able to fight back, but almost is not quite going to be good enough against LNG. And for them, this is just, again, just a slow but surely kind of taking over the map, taking over the rift to the point of which, like, Forge can't really deal with Doonby here. He's just basically resigned as taking out as many waves as he possibly can. Is Kalista 0-0-0 at the 21-minute mark. Not exactly the position you want that Kalista to be in.
And it's not like it gets any easier, right? Like, Gwen going to be getting towards her second item now with the Nashor's Tooth coming through soon. You've got the Aphelios as well, who's nearly picked up the Infinity Edge for himself, working towards it with the pickaxe. Like, you have LNG starting to come online with these late game carries. And yeah, sure, you've got the Gangplank here, but he's 0-3 and he's not coming online for a long while.
And he has still yet to pick up his mythic. No Triforce yet, and he's not even close to it. He's got himself some decent current items, but again, not really the position you want it to be in. Has to pick up the anti-heal, the Grievous Wounds, of course, to try and deal with this Gwen's healing. And I don't know, it's getting tougher and tougher, darker and darker for Anyone's Legend to walk around their map safely. And you can see they're trying to just stall this one out and get themselves somewhere. They do have the Imperial Mandate now finished up here for Forge, so he will have the 2-item spike, but with Baron being started up right now by LNG, I don't think LNG are going to give them an opportunity to try and fight back.
No, especially when you can see Iwandi and Light on the wave. You don't realize that this is going down. They have no vision on it. It's already been cleared, and now Anyone's Legend starting to realize, hang on a second, maybe this is going down.
It is going down, but it's just a little bit too late. Xiaohao trying his hardest to get to the position of the Baron, but unless he ulted and Heartbreakered immediately over the wall, there was just absolutely no way, and that's just LNG picking themselves up a free Baron.
Yeah, really nice job by LNG. Now, Ala and Iwandi actually starting to come in on the flank.
Xiaohao, he's a little bit of no man's land. He's trying to just juke away from everybody. We'll have to flash away and use the Heartbreaker as well, but there's just too much CC. My God, is he just tearing through people. You can use all the mobility in the world, but when you have a Sejuani and a Nautilus, you're not getting away.
And now you've got this Baron push that's about to start up in this top side. You got the minions there. There's another wave that's got a Conga line its way in just a moment, and Anyone's Legend 4 versus 4 here. You've got the reset coming through from Doonby, who now TP's in.
I was going to say, you got the TP in. The hook does land on the ZDZ, who's forced to flash away immediately. There's going to be the Moonlight Vigil coming down on the Chocho, who does get rooted down by the Gravitum. Forge trying to keep everyone at bay with the Demonic Ascension. Iwandi just kind of keeping everything away and making sure they can't re-engage. And again, you can see Anyone's Legend, they have opportunities, but they're just being closed in front of them straight away by LNG.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate now for Anyone's Legend, because I was going to say, I think the best way for them to try and get back into this game was to, like, look, sack a tower somewhere, maybe look for a pick around Dragon early where you can get some deep vision down, try and do something a little bit funky, but because the Baron was stolen, because you've gone for this fight now with Xiaohao getting caught out, it means that you don't really have the opportunity to go for a pick at this Dragon that's about to spawn. So that's going to be the 3rd Dragon potentially now picked up for LNG if Anyone's Legend can pull off some sort of miracle play.
That's the big thing now. We're kind of gone from here's your opportunities to here's what the miracle needs to happen. Here's how it needs to go down for you if you want to try and come back into this, because 9,000 gold lead, LNG very comfortable. Still have the Baron for a minute. It feels like an absolute eternity since they got this. Feels like a permanent buff at this point because they're just moving it around the map so fluidly and so calm and collected. It just feels like anyone's letting just don't have an opportunity. And again, this is great to see from LNG. This is exactly what we wanted to see from them coming into this game, because they had a little bit of a rough game against BLG in terms of like how they executed, but this one's just been cool, calm, and collected.
Yeah, far cleaner, and as well kind of running this like 1-4 setup rather than the 1-3-1 that we saw from Spring. But Ala,
I mean, he's just bringing them on a bit of a wild goose chase. Doomby's on the backside here, and you've got 3 people here chasing on the Ala, but over the wall and far away, LNG are going to be there to play. They get the hostile takeover there onto Iwandi and Ala, and finally Ala will be taking down the Cannon Barrage, doing some decent work. The heal used to keep Iwandi alive, and they keep focusing on this. Doomby was not here for this fight. In fact, Doomby dies, and now Anyone's Legend keep pushing forward. Light using the Gale Force to try and keep himself alive, and now you can see Betty trying to just put in as many spears as he possibly can on the Tarzan, who's in absolutely no man's land, and he will finally be taken down. Anyone's Legend with a bit of life in them.
And that was the miracle that we were looking for Anyone's Legend. You had to say it. LNG, we're going to close this one out cleanly. Well, they'll completely wipe that idea off the board, because LNG tried to make this happen, but Ala completely out of position. You don't have the team as one. Anyone's Legend pounds, and now they've got the dragon for themselves.
They get themselves the dragon, a massive influx of gold as well. We talked about how it was 9,000 gold. That's down to 6,000, so you've lost 3,000 gold in that one play alone. And not only that, but it gives time there for the Gangplank, for the Swain to get up to those big items. And we can look at the replay here. Doomby's just by himself, so it's basically a 5v4.
And that's the thing, right? Like, we talked about the strength of this composition being the fact that you can very quickly enable Tarzan CC. But the thing is, Tarzan is with Light and Iwandi. Ala is off on his lonesome. Doomby off on his own. Ala is like out of this equation before he even gets to really get damage off. So you're fighting on multiple different fronts. You don't actually get the ability to enable Tarzan in these fights. And Forge is doing such a good job of making sure he continues to get that Demon Essence so he can keep the Demonic Ascension up. And it makes it so difficult then for anyone on LNG to actually set up properly for this fight. I mean, you can see the Aphelios. He's running for the hills because the front line just isn't in position for him to fight.
Yeah, very scattered, very disconnected, and that was exactly what Anyone's Legend needed if they wanted to try and come back into this. Now, still a couple of things that need to happen if they want to try and really be a part of this. Good damage there from the side of the Gangplank and, of course, the Callista, but it is going to be a very much a long uphill battle here for the side of Anyone's Legend, should this be able to be redeemable, shall we say, in this game.
Yeah, I think the dragon definitely helps though in kind of finding those moments to like, okay, can we find another opportunity to find these picks? Because Betty is massive at the moment. This is like the point where he's strongest with the Quinsus and that Ruin's Hurricane picked up. But the biggest problem that you're looking across is Light now has the Infinity Edge completed. Doomby as well, kind of having the Black Cleaver now, should give him a little bit of help to kind of enable Light to be the big carry in these fights. But as long as you're able to set up on LNG side as a straight front-to-back fight, you should be alright. But if they end up going for these like wonky setups again, like we just saw, that's where you're going to see Anyone's Legend have an opportunity to come back into this game.
Yeah, you finally actually have the Prowler's Claw being picked up here for ZDZ, so he's going to try and just find someone and take them out if they are in the wrong position. Also, Tarzan is a very rich man on this Sejuani. He already got a Warmogs going alongside the Frostfire Gauntlet and, of course, the Thornmail, so very rich, very tanky Sejuani that's going to take a lot of spears to try and burn down. So wait to see exactly where they want to go for. It's about 20 seconds till the Baron does spawn, but 28 minutes into this game, we'll see Anyone's Legend start to get a little bit of comfortable position in their own jungle, try and force out the likes of LNG away from this. And I feel like LNG are going to be a little bit more skidded to try and start any fight because they are still waiting on some key flashes.
Yeah, I think the big one for Anyone's Legend is that they want to try and like bypass the front line of LNG. Like, Tarzan is way too beefy at this stage. You've already kind of highlighted all the items that he has. And with the build that ZDZ is gone, he's gone for the like earlier mid-game spiking build with the lethality. So this is more so about, okay, can we try and hold this vision control in our jungle? So maybe LNG try and face check us, because if you ever catch Light with these barrels, he's going to be dead. Ala's going to take a serious amount of hurt from them as well. And it's about trying to bypass Tarzan and Doomby. Because if you can kill Light and then focus Ala, you can actually try and win out these fights. But if you end up in the straight front-to-back fight where Ala and Light are pretty much untouched, that's where you're going to have big issues.
I will say, though, those barrels are starting to really hurt. 1,000 crit for ZDZ if he's able to get it landed onto the Aphelios or even the Gwen without the immunity. That is where this game can get very scary for LNG. They are starting to establish dominance again over this Baron pit, and you can see just how much they're investing in terms of the vision control. They will start up the Baron immediately and try and burn this one down. The TP is going to be coming in. The Swain isn't quite there yet. They can try and get Xiaohao over the wall. He goes in, but he's not quite able to get it. Will flash in and Heartbreaker straight back out. Again, LNG just quicker on the execution, make a call, and they commit to it.
Yeah, and it's just been time and time again, LNG have been able to just sneak these ones away. Anyone's Legend, we're trying to just keep vision control on their own side, but they get called out on it.
They get caught out, but here comes the charge, and they're going to see Forge now in the middle of this. There's going to be the hostile takeover, trying to put in the damage, doing be very low. There will be a trade of mid laners, but the Nautilus is dead as well. Chocho keeps himself alive, and now it's a 4v3. Chocho not really a part of this fight just yet, and Tarzan's going to be keeping himself very healthy with that Mormogs very, very soon. It's on Betty, it's on ZDZ. You can see these barrels are doing work, but not enough. Light is so big, and he goes in with the Gale Force and picks up an execution there. And now LNG, they might just end the game right here.
Yeah, 3 members strong against the 3 on Anyone's Legend. Barrels, though,
they are pretty big. The catch out Light. He has been stunned up. He will be forced to heal. Still has his flash, and those minions are getting peppered down. Now Betty feeling confident going forward. He dodges out the ultimate from the Sejuani, and now Betty and ZDZ and Xiaohao defend their base adamantly, and they know they can keep themselves alive with 3 seconds till the dragon spawns. They may keep chasing.
Yeah, if they can try and keep LNG out, maybe they can do something, but Xiaohao is too low. He's going to back away. ZDZ as well needs to try and get some more damage under his belt, because honestly, like, hitting onto Light with the barrels and not really getting through the shield that's on this Bloodthirster, I thought we were going to see a little bit more damage coming out from ZDZ, but unfortunately, he's just not quite there yet.
Not quite there. As we wait to see the replay here, and again, looks like Anyone's Legend are looking for the kind of catch out, but they just get turned on.
Yeah, and you can see here, Doomby tries to go in towards the front line, but Forge again doing such a good job of buying space for the back line. ZDZ getting these barrels in place, but we're coming straight back to live. There's Forge.
Ooh. Flashes away, gets himself back to safety. I will say, Iwanti dies because the hostile takeover actually just catches him out on top of the Aphelios. We'll come back into live. As you can see, there's the needlework going in. Forge going to chop down the Demonic Ascension to try and keep Xiaohao alive. Is jumping onto Iwandi here. Never Move is not going to land as the Zhonya's has been used. There's a good Moonlight Vigil to try and stop everyone else from jumping on top of this, but Doonby's been caught with the handshake. He tries to make this one work. Xiaohao gets on top of him, and he's going to be caught out. They're trying to kill off anybody so Betty can reset, but he shall not be reset. And Aphelios has been traded back, so the AD carries are both dead. Now Tarzan's being brought back into the fray, and Anyone's Legend are starting to weather the storm.
And now LNG running for the hills. Anyone's Legend are chasing after them. ZDZ has to go back to base to deal with the minion line that's there. But still, Anyone's Legend holding on. This is the power of this Swain, because holy moly, every time he goes in, nobody can deal with him. He's catching people out. And Light just getting caught on the edge by ZDZ means that they just don't have the damage left. We'll see it here in the replay, right? Swain again, just moving forward. ZDZ set up already with the barrels. Ala manages to dodge it, but this is where it gets really funky, because Doomby is caught way too deep at this stage, right? Because Forge is able to catch the ultimate just in front of the tower, he's able to zone away the rest of LNG, who don't want to be caught up with this Imperial Mandate and Raide's Crystal Scepter build. So Forge again just keeping at bay. And then here, everyone tries to commit, but you end up having that great ultimate come across into Light, and again he just gets caught out here by ZDZ, and Anyone's Legend are doing an amazing job of keeping LNG out of their base.
The scary thing as well is if Betty's able to get that bailout to proc and get himself back alive, that's so much worse for the side of LNG. And all of a sudden, we're looking at only a 5,000 gold lead. You can see the damage from ZDZ. He's finally starting to crit onto these big barrels. And all of a sudden, LNG, they're not looking so comfortable. Yes, they are on Soul Point in 2.5 minutes. They are still technically in the lead of this game, but the momentum seems to be shifting.
Yeah, especially when you look at that Infinity Edge that's going to be completed by the Gangplank. Like we said, ZDZ probably wasn't going to be relevant in this game because the game wasn't going to go that long. But because LNG have kind of messed up a couple of these plays, got caught out, it's bought time now for the Gangplank to get to the later portion of the game. You're looking at the Swain also having the the Spectral, no, that's Spirit Visage, that's the word I'm looking for.
Spirit Visage, yep.
For Ala as well, because realistically, if Light's actually in the Demonic Ascension, it becomes very easy for players like Xiao Hao and stuff to try and dive in on top of Light. So if Light's ever in range of the Swain, he's going to be in a lot of trouble. Even having the Zhonya's there as well, so we can kind of deal with the AD damage from there. So honestly, this is actually kind of looking a little bit worse for wear for LNG. I mean, this is going to be the third Baron of the game now being picked up, and only the mid inhibitor is down for Anyone's Legend, which is the easiest one to defend.
And it's only a minute left until that comes back up as well. So this game has gotten to a point now where Anyone's Legend have brought it to the super late game. They've brought it to the point where can you actually have enough damage to take down the Swain before he takes down your key carries? And we talked about how beefy this LNG lineup is, but Doonby isn't going to have that much relative damage on the tanks later on to this game. It is going to be down to Light and Ala to try and carry these team fights. But if they get caught out, they get, even just removed from the fight because they can't walk in without dying, that's huge for the side of Anyone's Legend because they can weather that storm.
Yeah, I mean, at least you got the QSS here for Light, which should help out with things like the hostile takeover to make sure that he's going to be relatively safe. But you do just have to be so incredibly careful. And LNG, again, trying to set up for the Baron, Anyone's Legend. I think more interest in making sure this Infernal Soul doesn't go over to LNG.
I mean, that's got to be the next play here. As you can see, all of a sudden, Anyone's Legend on equal footing, pushing forward here, making sure that the side of them go in as they try and catch him out. Fate's Call is going to be used straight away. They're going to try and re-engage here on top of Iwandi. And with the barrels coming down and with the cannon barrage, you can see how difficult it is. That's a great hostile takeover. But look at Light. He's absolutely shredding through these players as Anyone's Legend just cannot deal with this Aphelios. As I say that, you can see Xiao Hao trying to come back on top of it. But it is an ace. And finally, LNG will find their fight.
It took a while, but eventually LNG will get there. Light and Doonby, the only two people left standing, as they will march forward. Minion Wave will be there momentarily, and that should be the game for LNG.
It was a little touch and go. As we were starting to talk about how clean and crisp LNG were, it was starting to show some cracks, but they finally get the fight. Doonby getting right on top of the backside, and Light left completely untouched. Means that LNG will pick up game one in this best of three.
Yeah, I mean, it came right down to the wire there. The QSS for Light being so pivotal in that fight, and even having the massive Infernum ultimate as well to make sure that he could blow apart Anyone's Legend. But, I mean, look, LNG, we kind of talked about how they would try and play this out. What's their team fighting going to look like? And definitely at times looking a little bit shaky, and Anyone's Legend able to take that fight back against them.
I mean,